All right, Kelsey, thanks so much for being on the Friends with Wheels podcast. If you could talk a little bit about how you started with adaptive pathways, and yeah, we can go from there.
Great. Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. This is my
Mm-hmm.
first podcast interview, so uh, if I can do anything differently, let me know. But yeah, I'm a recreational therapist, um, which a lot of people haven't heard of or don't realize that it's an actual profession. It is. I have a bachelor's degree in recreational therapy from Eastern Washington University, which I got in 2008, and then proceeded to work at Harborview, University of Washington Medical Center. I was an aquatic therapist. I've worked at Elder Place in Seattle and Redmond, and then Snoqualmie Valley Hospital, which is worked and live in Snoqualmie Valley. So through all of that, almost 20 years of work, I realized there was a gap, kind of something missing in the whole framework of healthcare and the holistic approach, which is what recreational therapy is. So we look at the person as a whole. So when I meet a patient or client for the first time and their family, I ask them what's meaningful to them and what brings them joy and what are they not able to do, those things in life, like maybe it's to get on the floor and play with their grandchildren or to go to the park. Maybe a park that they love to go to isn't accessible and they're using a walker now or a wheelchair. So I try to help break down the barriers for them to be able to get back into the community safely, and so that they can enjoy it, and also to just enjoy life. So I look at them as a whole person and try to help them to reclaim some of that, whether it's something that they're a disability they've been born with or acquired. So through like back to back to what I was saying about how I started this my business is I realized there was a gap in the service being provided, to or not being provided to people when they are in the community or in their homes. So they get it in the hospital or maybe a skilled nursing facility, and then they go home and that service isn't provided anywhere else. And then they end up back in the hospital, maybe with a repeat break or something else has happened, UTI or something, and they go through this whole process again. So I started Adaptive Pathways to try to reduce the recidivism of people coming into the hospital, but also to be able to just get back into the community and enjoy their life and enjoy their families.
Mm-hmm. And like, what do you guys do at Adaptive Pathways? How do you achieve that goal of like, getting people to like go back to their communities and kind of be more what's the word? Kind of like find ways to really be more independent, I guess.
Yeah, it just varies. So with recreational therapy, the the plan of care, what have you, the direction your therapy goes is up to you. So it doesn't have like a one size fits all. We're going to do these exercises and we're going to do them 5 times a day, for 30 minutes. It's not like that. So take, for example, I have a client who, let's see, I'm trying to make sure I'm, like not disclosing anyone's identification or anything. So
Mm-hmm.
HIPAA compliant, obviously, always. But say someone wants to into the community, but they have a fear of crowds and they say they're neurodivergent and they want to be able to say go play games or something, like with people, like Dungeons and Dragons, say, and they want to be able to go out to a gaming store to play that, but they can't because they have a panic attack when they get into crowds or even think about going into those situations. And so I work with them on their social skills, their confidence building, just kind of being there for them and working through building morale with someone and building that confidence. And then maybe we go out into the community, maybe not right to the gaming store, but we go for a walk and we're around some people on the sidewalk. And if they can't handle that, then we take it back a step and say, like, okay, that was too much. Let's try, just leaving the house and standing outside for maybe 10, 15 minutes and just being outside, which is a whole other realm. Just being outside is hugely healing. Anyone that, enjoys going outside in fresh air knows that. Someone else might say have been in a motorcycle accident and be in a high level spinal cord injury and be in a power wheelchair. Then I come in and I say, okay, what is it you enjoyed doing before your accident? And say they love riding motorcycles. Okay, well, maybe that's not an option to get back to that, but maybe we find out other things that they used to enjoy doing or have been interested in and try those things out. Like maybe it's that they always thought skiing was kind of cool, but they never had the money or the resources to go skiing. I would then hook that person up with Outdoors for All, which is a wonderful organization in our area that offers scholarships even to people who can't afford to do their programs. And maybe we try go to do adaptive skiing, which is possible to any level of people and ability levels. So just it's kind of drawing out what brings them joy. What do they want to do? Are they stuck at home? Are they lonely? Is it a disability, a physical or a cognitive or a intellectual one that's limiting them? Or what is it that makes you you? And how do I help you to be that full person?
Mm-hmm. That's cool. As someone who has close ties with Outdoors for All, I could say that it's a really great program, and it shows how people can like be more adapt to like nature and all that kind of stuff. Because I remember I did the I was on these adaptive hand bikes, and I would pedal from like I don't know, I forget what distance, but it was a really cool experience for me to get to know like try a hand bike and doing it with others, and so that was really fun.
That's awesome. I love that. Did you do that in Magnuson Park?
I think I did that in Magnuson Park, yeah.
Yeah, nice. They now have a program. The cycling program is also at Lake Sammamish State Park in Issaquah. So
Like
they've
some
expanded. Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So like when you so like in those kinds of situations, with the concerts and all that stuff, is it about modifying and tailoring, like different situations to the person's needs, or what's your process like?
Yeah. So when I first meet with someone, kind of like I was saying, I'll ask them like, what is it that you want to be doing? What's holding you back? And what do you want to be able to do? Like, what's your end goal? And some people can't even tell you that. Like, that is very common for people to be like, I have no idea what I want to be able to do. And I get referrals from, or I have parents who call me and say, can you work with my young adult or my adult child who has intellectual disabilities or developmental or physical. And so it's not just the clients calling me, it's family members and things. So I meet with the person and preferably the family as well to just really get a good picture of where they want to be or what their um, not only relationship looks like, but also like how how to make this person really feel like themselves and feel heard and seen. Um, because I myself am not a person with a disability, but I've just seen in my advocacy and work with people throughout so many years of it, like people are not asked a lot of times what they want or how how they want to go about living their lives. And especially, I work with a lot of people. I've worked, I should say, in the past and still do with a lot of people who have dementia. Um, and so that's a big one too. Like that, just meeting someone where they're at, um, just really figuring out what they need, what they want, how do they feel seen, how do they feel heard. I mean, I'm thinking of like so many different patients over the years I've had. I had I'll use one from years ago. I had a patient who lived in an assisted living facility and always wanted to go to the Seattle library again. She hadn't been there in years, but had done a lot of writing when she was in the library there. And that Seattle downtown Seattle library is an amazing place. And it's very accessible, I will say. But to try to get from where she lived to the library was a good distance, and there was construction going on. It was during the summer. And so this is just one example. I helped her to kind of path find her way using her chair, safely crossing streets, making sure she was at a good speed and all these things to get to the library, and then making sure she could hit the button to get in the door, find the elevator, go up to where she used to do her writing, things like that. So she had a stroke before, in between, like when she used to write and when I saw her. So it's like it's figuring out how to make that dream a reality, or that goal a reality. It's not just like I said, it's not just do these exercises or do this one thing, which physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, they're so necessary. And I have co-treated a lot with all those therapists along the way, and I've learned so much from them, and they're wonderful. And that's where like recreational therapy and the other therapies really go hand in hand really well together. But there's just a lack of understanding of the need of recreational therapy. And I will have to say, too, it's not a reimbursable service from insurance. So we, as a collective whole of recreational therapy, have never been able to make it past that like barrier of we're a necessary service and you should reimburse for us. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned physical therapy and occupational therapy and recreational therapy in the same sentence, because what I wanted to ask was, how does recreational therapy, how's it similar and different from like physical therapy and occupational therapy even?
yeah, very good question. So a really good mentor of mine once said, physical therapy will get you moving again, the big muscle groups, walking, wheeling, whatever, device you're using. Occupational therapy will help you make sure that you're feeding yourself, working on your activities of daily living, getting dressed, getting around your house. Speech therapy will help with your communication, and that's just, I understand. I don't want people to be like, that's not all we do, but that's just the basis of those other therapies. And I have
Mm-hmm.
friends in all those disciplines, and my dad's a retired PT, so I understand very much of what they do. But then, so you can do all those things. That's great. Then what are you going to do? So that's where recreational therapy comes in and says, like, the joy in life, the meaningful part of life, and not saying getting up and walking and getting dressed and going to the bathroom isn't meaningful, but those are the basic needs. And once those needs are met, or you're able to do those things, then that's the next level, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once your basic needs are met, then you can take on the other things, the like I said, I keep saying the joy in life. Like, what is it that brings you joy? What things do you want to be able to do? And they do, like I was saying earlier, go hand in hand really well together, because say, let me just use a co-treating example. So working with a PT and a patient, co-treating with a PT, that PT is working on that person standing for longer periods of time. Okay, you can just have them stand there and time them, or this person used to golf, and so let me bring in a golf club and a ball, and a set up a golf, like a little putting green, a mobile one in the gym, and let's practice putting. Let's golf. Like,
Yeah.
let's play pool while you're standing. Like, let's make it meaningful, because that's what you used to do, or that's what you want to be able to do again. So it's bringing that meaning, that purpose into the therapy, into your life, and not just doing like, and the exercises are so important. I mean, I'm someone who works out. Like, you need to do those repetitive exercises to build the muscles, to build the muscle memory, and all, everything that goes along with that. But then take it a step further. And all of the therapists I've worked with and co-treated over the years have said that patients stand longer, they complain less, and they're able to do more when they co-treat with recreational therapy. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's like someone said in a podcast, like I do like this person, the person I talked to said that she does physical therapy. Oftentimes people, people often say like exercise, they do it for the sake of exercise, but like doing exercise and doing exercise activities is good for like getting the mail or picking up your grandchild or all those sorts of things.
Yes, exactly. Like I said, I work out. I'm someone who lifts weights, like do the stationary bike, stuff like that. And I do it so that I can then go out and I can hike and I can ski and I can pick my child up and I can go play baseball and soccer with him. Like I do the necessary things, the muscle building things so that I can go have fun. It's easier to do those things that you love to do if you put in the work.
Hmm. What was
Yeah.
it like going through like PT school? But because I don't know like how you got to recreational therapy, what kind of training you did, but could you talk about that?
Good question. Yeah. So my degree, I didn't go through PT school. Actually, I went through. It's a recreational therapy program, and so it's 4-year bachelor's degree, and I got my degree at Eastern Washington University. I graduated in 2008. So after all my coursework was done in Cheney, I did a 4-month internship at Harborview on the inpatient rehab unit, which was phenomenal. I mean, we took patients out to get their haircut, to go grocery shopping, to go on outings, do aquatic therapy. I mean, whatever it is they wanted to be able to do. And those patients at Harborview are there from what is it, the 5-state area, because it's a level 1 trauma facility. So lots of people with strokes, spinal cord injuries, TBIs, and burns. So that was the core of my education and my internship there. And then we take a certification exam after that. So I have the credential CTRS, which stands for Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialist. And in Washington, we're registered with the state to practice our field. So there's a little slash and an R after my name to signify I'm registered in Washington.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then every 5 years, we recertify with 50 hours of continuing education. So roughly it equals out to about 10. If you do about 10 hours a year, then you recertify. And you have to have worked a certain number of hours in recreational therapy in that 5 years and get all your 50 hours. And then we have a state organization, Washington State Therapeutic Recreation Association, or WASTRA, which I served on the board as the president for 3 years a few years ago. And then we have a national board or a national organization, ATRA, American Therapeutic Recreation Association. And then there's our credentialing board, which gives us our CTRS. So the NCTRC is our national credentialing board. And we're actually in Canada as well. There's quite a few actually private practice recreational therapists in Canada, and there are more in the U.S. More of us are are on the up and up. And actually, just right before our this podcast recording, I was meeting with someone who just took her certification exam back in the end of last year and is looking at what to do, where she should work, what she can do with it. So there's not as many of us as PT, OT, speech, because it's a lesser known profession.
Yeah.
My parents
I'm
even asked me, like, my parents were like, can you get a job doing that?
y-
When I decided
yeah.
to do this
Yeah, the
degree in internship.
skepticism creeps in. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? Yep, I'm almost 20 years in and I've started my own practice now. And it's so incredible to really to see my dream become a reality. So, I knew that I wanted to meet people where they're at. That's what it was. It was like bridge the gap. So they're not in the hospital. They have a disability maybe to some extent, but like really meet them where they're at. So I come to people's homes or meet them in the community, and then we work on those goals that they're working on, that we've set up. So I have connections all over Snoqualmie Valley. I had a client in Seattle already. I'm up in Bothell. I was in Puyallup. I prefer to stay local. I prefer to stay in East King County, but I get it. The need stretches far and wide. So it really just being on your podcast and your YouTube channel is huge for me, because it's not a known field. It's not a really well-known profession. And it's like a unicorn when I find someone who knows what I do or what is a recreational therapist too. That happens every once in a while. So
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. Yeah, I'm glad you defined all those credentials for me because I had no idea what they were.
it's a lot. I know. People are like, what now? What is this?
Yeah.
I have I like working with people with Parkinson's as well, and so I got credential or got certified in as a Parkinson's wellness recovery instructor. So that's PWR. Anyone who has Parkinson's would know that, probably knows of that organization. So yeah, I'm all about credentials and all
Yeah,
those
yeah,
things. But yeah,
yeah,
it's like, what does CTRS mean? And I just shortened it to recreational therapist. Like it's a very
yeah, exactly. So what tips and advice would you give to those who want to study recreational therapy? Because it's again, like you said, it's a type of therapy that is not widely known.
yes. I would say to reach out to some recreational therapists in your community. I'm more than happy to meet with people. I love making connections, whether it's someone connecting with me or me connecting you to someone else who might be able to talk to you. But that's one of the reasons why, another reason I started my practice was because I live in a small community in Snoqualmie Valley. And I saw all these connections being made and I was like, I want to be a part of that. So connect with someone. And if you don't know if there's anyone in your area, feel free to reach out to me. I know quite a few in Washington State, and I've connected with quite a few around the country as well through my work. So reach out to someone local, um, and then just really start doing your research on the university or the college that you are looking at, and talk to people who have been through that program too recently. I went through Eastern's program, almost 20 years ago. So what I have to say now, it probably isn't as pertinent, as someone who just went through it, but it hasn't changed that much. I think like what we're teaching, what's being taught is pretty much the same, all in all. But also you can get in touch with your local state organization, which, like I mentioned, is WASTRA, or the national one, ATRA. It's, pardon me, it's a great organization and will know how to connect you with people in your area. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What have you learned in doing this work in recreational therapy?
What have I learned?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good question. I think the big takeaway of what I've learned is people just want to be seen and people want to be heard. I spend a lot of time just listening to people. I'm not a mental health therapist. I don't have that education, that training. But what I didn't go into is, recreational therapy is based on five domains: physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and leisure. So that's where, like, we try to meet your physical needs, your cognitive, your social, emotional, like we look at you. That's the holistic approach. So if talking to some if like someone talking to me for an hour, that is therapy for them, if that's therapeutic in some way, shape, or form for their emotional well-being, then that's great. I have some clients that I go in and they just talk to me for an hour, and then they're like, oh, that felt so good.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay,
exactly.
let's do it. And we go, like what's, and I'm not just there to, I'm also there, okay, what's your takeaway from this? What are you going to work on before I come back next time? We're goal oriented, where we have goals we're working towards and we have a plan. So, yeah, I think my big takeaway of what I've learned is that people just want to be heard. They want someone to listen.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, how can recreational therapy make a difference in people's lives? This is kind of like a big picture
Big
question.
picture. Yeah, I think recreational therapy can help people to really live their life to the fullest, to really dream big. Anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All righty. Okay.